Dear colleagues and friends, I wish you a very good day. My name is Luc de Witte. I am the president of the Global Alliance of Assistive Technology Organizations. And I'm extremely happy that I have the opportunity to speak to you at the start of this important conference. Initially, I tended to join the conference in person, but unfortunately, that was not possible. I'm very happy with the invitation of your president, Xi Chen, to speak to you, because I think it's extremely important that organizations in the field of assistive technology connect and exchange their experiences, exchange ideas, speak at each other's conferences, and build towards global collaboration. That is why we have, with a number of organizations in the world, established GAATO, which is the abbreviation of the long name I just mentioned. Global collaboration is, in my opinion, extremely important and increasingly important for a number of reasons. If you look at the needs for assistive technology in the world and that are rapidly growing, and you know that only a small portion of those needs are being fulfilled with available assistive technologies, then you see there is a big need and a huge potential. If you look at the developments of technology, a lot is happening, and you see really impressive developments in a number of fields that will impact the field of assistive technology. So what we face is a huge need worldwide and fantastic potential in technology. And bridging these two is just too big an issue to be done by any country alone or any organization alone. There are so many issues at stake. It's so important to learn from each other and to exchange solutions that we have found, to exchange innovative ideas, and to enable technologies that are invented in one part of the world to be also used or translated to other parts of the world. If we don't do that, we will never be able to meet that huge challenge that we are facing in this field. It's also extremely interesting, but that is mainly a personal thing. In the past years, I have been in touch with many colleagues in many different countries, and I found that so extremely stimulating. I've learned so much from different perspectives. Because to be honest, very often in my part of the world, I am Dutch and I live and work in the United Kingdom. In our part of the world, we tend to think that we know how things should be done. If there is one thing that I've learned from my international contacts, that is not true. It's fundamentally not true. I've learned so much from colleagues in India, in South Korea, in South Africa. And I really want to learn the same or other things from colleagues in other parts of Asia. And that's why it's so important that we have a little bit of time on this conference to talk about this. I would really invite organizations that are member of Create Asia to to be open to the idea of collaborating and to see how we can strengthen each other, because it's fascinating, it's important, it's necessary. And of course there are difficulties, of course there are cultural differences, there are differences in the way we organize things, but we should not see that as barriers. We should see that as opportunities to learn and to do better. That's at least my personal drive, why I have taken on this role of trying to share this new global collaboration. But that's of course high-level international thinking. More down to the ground, I think conferences like these are extremely interesting and important for any professional, any researcher, any inventor in this space to present, to talk, to discuss. I really hope that your conference will be very successful, You will have a lot of exchange, but I also hope that you will have somewhere this trigger to think, well, how can we connect to the rest of the world? Evert-Jan, my colleague, Evert-Jan Hogewerf, my colleague who is at the moment Secretary General of the Global Alliance, he will tell you more about the organization. He will also give you the contact addresses. And from my point of view, I'm really open to discussions about how to collaborate, how to strengthen each other, and how to decrease the gap between the needs and what's possible. Thank you for now. I wish you a fantastic conference, and I really hope to meet you in person at the next conference. I promise you I will be there. I want to be there. Thanks you.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Evert-Jan Hogewerf, and I'm Secretary General of the Global Alliance of Assistive Technology Organizations. Also for me, it's an honor and a pleasure to be able to speak to you today. My talk is about global collaboration in assistive technology, how important that is, and why it is important for GAATO, the organization I represent here. We live in a globalized world, meaning that we know more and we have seen more of the world and of each other. We are more aware about cultural and political differences and diversity. We have a better understanding of the global challenges, whether these are economic, social, demographic, or environmental. And we have also a more comprehensive understanding of the meaning of keywords related to development, such as equity, freedom, rights, fairness, poverty, but also exclusion, participation, and independence. And we are aware of the conditions of persons with disabilities worldwide. Persons with disabilities have rights like anyone else, but statistics shows that many of them are disadvantaged compared to citizens without disabilities, and they have less access to appropriate education and employment, and that they are at risk of exclusion and poverty. Assistive technology, and we all know that, whether it's high or low tech, increases independence. It allows for activities, boosts participation, it sets people free, it allows them to make choices and to take their lives in their own hands. Assistive technology, you could say, creates pathways leading away from predetermined destinies. Nowadays, the technology is not so much the problem, but the problem is to make sure that people have access to it and can use it. There are a couple of global policy frameworks that are relevant for assistive technology, and that also demonstrate that assistive technology is an issue of increasing global concern. First of all, the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. I presume that most of you are familiar with the convention. And you might also know that assistive technology is mentioned there, especially the access to information on assistive technology. But the whole idea behind it is that assistive technology is a human rights enabler. It helps people to realize their other rights. First, and then of course the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations. Disability is transversely represented in the Sustainable Development Goals. And the whole idea behind it is that nobody should be left behind. Assistive technology can help people to make the contribution to all these development goals meaningful. Then finally the GAATO initiative, which started about 10 years ago by the World Health Organization. The starting point was to understanding that only 10% of the world population that might benefit from it actually has access to assistive technology. A major step was taken last year, or 2 years ago, when the World Health Assembly adopted a resolution improving access to assistive technology worldwide. So there's a need for AT worldwide, that is clear. But there are challenges related to that on how to realize that, how to make sure that people have access to assistive technology. And major challenges are related to the provision of assistive technology, but also to assistive technology education. And then, of course, to creating the conditions for people to be able to use that technology. And these challenges are interrelated and interdependent, and together form a complex framework that we can only address if we address them all together and contemporarily. So why international cooperation? Well, first of all, because the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities calls upon international cooperation in Article 32. It asks the national states to support efforts for the realization of the purpose and objectives of the Convention. For us, global cooperation is a driver because still many people that can benefit from it lack access to AT. It's also a typical area where we can learn from each other's experiences. And growing together, we can support the development of standards, of training in AT, of good practice in service delivery, of policies that work well. And together we can have more influence on choices of governments and international organizations. We from GAATO felt the need to have a global unified platform where different actors and AT organizations could coordinate their efforts. Global collaboration in assistive technology is not new. There are earlier initiatives, and GAATO is building forward upon them. The Tokushima Agreement, the International Alliance, and now GAATO. And I've asked my colleague Takenobu Inoue from Asia to tell a little bit more about that.
Hi everyone, I'm Takenobu Inoue from Japan. I've been talking about the history for the development of GAATO. The first things happened in 2000. AAAT, Arata, Resna, and Resger to sign the Tokushima Agreement. The purpose of this agreement was to promote the communication and information exchange. But we started discussion for the promoting the assistive technology and rehabilitation engineering area globally and expanding our alliance as well. So one of the things that I want to say here was in 2013, we sent a statement to UN high-level meeting on disability and development. I think this event gave us the good opportunity to promote our area, like WHO GATE initiative and so on. So we played some of the role to promote this movement, I think. So then in 2016, the TREAT, Taiwan, and RESCO from Korea will join us. And then in 2019, former organization joined us. And then we established the GAATO, International Alliance of Assistive Technology Organizations. And then finally, we have GAATO now, 2020. So this is very important historic event. The Resger has played some of the important role from Tokushima Agreement to the establishment of GAATO. We are very happy to cooperate and collaborate with the GAATO activities for creating the new world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Takenobu. That was very helpful. So GAATO is a formally established organization based in Switzerland, in Geneva, and it unites non-profit associations from across the world whose core interest is in assistive technology and rehabilitation engineering. And the members share the following characteristics: this non-for-profit interest, which is very relevant, that they are membership organizations themselves, that they are active, and that they represent the wider interests of AT at national or international level, to decision-making bodies such as their governments. So there are organizations that are actively also lobbying for assistive technology. Then we have candidate member organizations who would like to join, but maybe not entirely meet all the criteria, and affiliate organizations. At the moment, we have several members across the world, such as the Argentinians, AATA, ATIA from the US, AAATE from Europe, ARATA from Australia, BATA from the United Kingdom, RESIA from Japan, RESCO from Korea, RESNA from the United States, and TREDS from Taiwan. And further, also Eastin is a candidate member organization of GAATO. And as an affiliate organization, we have Raising the Floor International. The mission of GAATO is that we believe in a world where all people can access the assistive technology that they need. The aims of GAATO are to advance at global level the field of assistive technology and rehabilitation engineering, to benefit people with disabilities and functional limitations of all ages, to foster equitable and reliable access to AT and to rehabilitation, to promote at global level research, policy, advocacy, education and training, communication and information exchange, and to foster collaboration among members and with supranational and international organizations and organizations that have similar or complementary goals. And finally, to support assistive technology professional organizations in low and middle income countries. I have asked Silvana Contepomi from the Argentinian Association for Assistive Technology to tell us how they are addressing these challenges.
My name is Silvana Contepomi. I am the president of the Argentinian Assistive Technology Association, and we believe that to make changes and transform the actual access to assistive technology in our country, we need local stakeholders to get involved. So in 2011, we founded the Argentinian Assistive Technology Association to include all the parties and to interact with our strategic drivers, the people, the policy, the provision, the products, and the personnel. But ATA alone is not enough to empower our assistive technology system. We need to get the global working force to build up partnerships to understand, learn, and apply experience of others, and to set the standards for best practice and research. GAATO is the umbrella to support and develop local organizations like ours to better fulfill our mission statement by sharing knowledge, research, practice, programs, and challenges, amongst others. So join GAATO to build up partnerships and to develop joint actions.
Thank you, Silvana. So what are the opportunities that GAATO membership offers? Well, first of all, organizations can give a new international dimension to their efforts, but also they can offer additional membership benefits to their own members, who through the GAATO member get connected to a larger audience. Further, they can increase their visibility and the impact of their organizations, because their work will find a dissemination platform which is as big as the world. They can learn from each other through webinars and workshops, but also GAATO members can start to collaborate and addressing challenges together, or to develop projects as subgroup of members or as the alliance itself. Also TREDS, the conference organizer, is a member of GAATO. And I've asked Katie Cheng to say a little bit more about their reasons to join.
Hello, everyone. This is Kathy Cheng. I'm the Policy Promotion Committee of TREATS. TREATS, Taiwan Rehabilitation Engineering and Assistive Technology Society, was established in 2011. Our president is Shiqing Chen of Taipei Medical University. Our members include experts and scholars from various fields, including physicians, rehabilitation engineers, physical and occupational therapists, special education teachers, social workers, etc. Our missions are mainly to promote the aliens of health industry, government, and science research, and to assist the government to develop policies related to assistive technology, and to host relevant conferences or activities to promote AT affairs. Currently, TREATS involves in many international AT affairs, such as the Create Asia Agreement, Aliens of Assistive Technology Professional Organizations. TREATS are happy and honored to be part of GAATO. It is a great place for AT professionals, researchers, and clinicians to share and learn current development, policies, and practice across international distance. And we are working together to further the provision of quality assistive products and rehabilitation services around the world. We have upcoming meeting with GAATO to discuss the possible future collaborations, and we are looking forward to it. For more information, you are more welcome to visit our website at www.treats.org.tw.
Thank you, Katie, and congratulations with the success of the conference. Finally, I met Dr. Chapal Kosnavis, the leader of the GAATO team of the World Health Organization in Geneva, and I asked him why global cooperation in assistive technology is so important, and how he does see the role of GAATO.
Thank you, Ebert and Jan, for these key questions. As you know, that majority of people who are in need of assistive products cannot access those. So as WHO estimated in the beginning of this initiative that only 1 in 10 have access to assistive technology. So to improve access to assistive technology for everyone, everywhere, and to follow the mandate of Article 32 on global cooperation of the Convention on the Rights for Persons with Disabilities, WHO has taken this GAATO initiative, which is Global Cooperation on Assistive Technology, and we nickname it GAATO because it also opens the gate from exclusion to inclusion, from being as mere beneficiaries to a productive member of the society, to live with the quality of life and dignity, realizing rights. So it opens the whole gate of the new opportunities for people who are in need of such devices or such products. And when we developed this GAATO initiative, we realized that we need to bring all different stakeholders responsible for provision, developing, including the users of assistive technology together in one platform to create a common voice, because this sector is traditionally neglected sector, and neglected sector can only become an area of attention if all the marginalized or neglected groups talk together and have one common goal and common message. And we also realize that WHO alone cannot do this job. Such a huge work is needed to ensure universal access to assistive technology. hence WHO decided to develop this global cooperation on assistive technology to get everybody engaged in this process towards a common goal, is improving access for everyone everywhere. Now, as I said, that WHO alone is not good enough considering the need, and different stakeholders has different strength. For example, users can do the advocacy better. Organizations like WHO can do the policy influencing UN better. But organizations like GAATO, which is Global Alliance of Assistive Technology Organization, they can do many things which we cannot do. Or they can, means GAATO can do much better than what we can do, especially through your national or regional member societies, and especially with your experience on the research and evidence, you can provide the necessary scientific background and knowledge which is required to influence the policy, to influence the better delivery system, to influence the better product creation and service delivery. So that's where we need the organizations like GAATO, and especially we have seen that over the years, this sector, when the assistive technology professionals organizations are not developed everywhere. It was mostly in Latin America and Europe, especially in high income countries, but need of assistive technology is everywhere. And we saw that there's a huge gap. Even in Europe, there's a gap between Western Europe and Eastern Europe, or gap between Asia and Europe, or even in Africa and Europe, or within Asia, even you see the gap between India, Bangladesh, and Japan and Korea. So what we are trying to see that how GAATO, with its member societies, either through twinning mechanism or some other way, they can influence to develop similar organization across the world. We named it GAATO. Thank you for making it Global Alliance, but we have to really make it global, right? If you keep it only in Europe or North America, it's not a global. So this is the challenge for you. This is the challenge for all of us, that how we can really make it a global. How can we engage everyone in this movement? What I want to see that, like the movement of, like everybody is talking about vaccine for COVID, right? Because there's a sheer need, there's a huge opportunities and all this. So we want to see there is a similar cry comes from the market, comes from the people in need, so that assistive technology becomes a similar hot topic, which could be in the politicians' agenda, which will be the stakeholders, all the stakeholders' agenda. And what we also like to see that changing the game, people have very common perception that is just doing something good, something giving benefit to some disabled people or older people. People have not seen the potential of this sector, its market potential, its possibilities of opening new market, new economy, new jobs. So all this needs a very collaborative effort, and that's where GAATO can play a major role as a game changer and unifying force. And that's what we, WHO, wants to see GAATO playing that role, especially helping us where there is no AT experts are available, but the need is there. So how we can meet the need with your support. And that's what I look at GAATO and all its member societies to help us to reach to the unreached. As SDG said, no one should be left behind. It should not be a slogan. We have to really ensure that no one is really left behind. And that's what we need to work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Chapal, for your kind words. We are definitely looking forward to collaborate with you and with the whole team in Geneva of the GAATO initiative of the World Health Organization and all the other partners and organizations that are involved. Looking forward to together to realize this ambitious aim to make sure that everybody that needs assistive technology in the world can actually have access to it. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm almost at the end of my talk. Just a couple of minutes to show you some slides from some images from our website. This is the homepage. You can find basic information about GAATO there, gaato.org. There's a nice section on resources that we trust will grow in the next years to come. There are already some interesting articles, and in particular, I would like to ask your attention for the proceedings of the GAATO event, the GAATO Summit on Assistive Technology Impact, Outcomes and Impact, which was held during the last RESNA conference this summer. Further, there's a page on events where we'll regularly post upcoming events in assistive technology conferences wherever in the world they are taking place. Again, thank you very much. I would like to end with this slide. There's a big fish out there and it's called Assistive Technology for All. Let's get out and catch it. Thank you very much for your kind attention. I hope you have a great conference, and warm greetings also on behalf of the entire GAATO board. Thank you very much.